Yes, people, we are back. It's another day, another dollar for myself and Lee Judges. What's going on? Hope you're all well. Lee looks freezing cold, so let's ask him how he is. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good. I've been out all day today. I've just walked in the door, so the heat. I've just put the heating on, and but other than that, Dan, can't be better. It's been I ain't gonna lie, been on a high since the Liverpool game, really. But the West Ham game as well was fantastic, and seeing Lawless getting roasted last night was quite funny as well. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to say it now. Fair play to him. Took it on the chin. He give it, but he can take it as well. So all credit to him. So top guy.
He is, mate. He's a legend. I love him, but he has to hold that. I'm sorry, he has to hold that. And for those that haven't seen it, please do go. I don't normally shamelessly plug, but do go over to my channel on Football's 12th Man podcast and watch it, because trust me, it is well worth it. I literally, mate. And do you know what? Big up. I know Sam does a lot for this channel.
Big up, Sam. Brilliant intro.
The best intro that he's done yet. So make sure you go over to it. Football's 12th Man podcast, Race for Europe show. Brilliant show tonight as well with Kenny Ken, Northside Gal, Jez and Brandon. Make sure you go check that one out. Proper kicked off and got heated on that one as well, let me tell you, towards the end. But that's what it's all about. Debates, disagreements, discussions, and people see the club differently. And it's great, Lee, to get different opinions on all the time. You know? So, learn off each other, and it's great. It's all respectful as well, which is great.
Listen, I love Kenny Ken. I've got
I love him,
as a person, I've got so much time for him. Love spending time with him at football and all that. But he's got a different opinion to me, but you know what? I respect his opinion. And I'll tell you what, even though I don't agree with it, he does back it up to a certain degree. He does say things in it that I say, do you know what? I understand where you're coming from.
And that's all you ask. That's all you ask. If someone says, I don't like Arteta, why? Just don't. Well, he ain't backed up why you don't like him. If someone says, I love Arteta, why? Just do. He ain't backed up why you ask him. Give your opinions, understand, back them up. Like tonight, we got Igal saying we just won 6-0, and people are saying if Arteta don't win anything, he's got to go. And Jez and Northside were saying, yeah, he does need to go if he don't win something. Igal totally disagrees. That's what it's all about. It's people having opinions about it respectfully, mate. So it was a good show. Make sure you go and check it out. And more importantly, make sure you like and subscribe to this one. Now, we're going to do a bit of a Q&A tonight. We're going to get involved with a chat, and we need your help. So we need a load of questions. Please make sure you do me a favour. Please make sure that you put a Q at the start of it, because otherwise I won't be able to star it. So please make sure I'm aware there is a question so I can keep up with the chat room. Me and Lee are going to talk all things Arsenal, and we will answer as many questions as we can. So please make sure that you throw a load of comments at us, throw a load of questions our way. Any super chats will, of course, be answered first and get to the front of the queue, but we're happy to answer any questions that you have about football. So, Lee Judges, I want to know this. How are you feeling a few days on, now that the 6-0 has settled, now that your story of actually watching and getting into the ground has settled, and honestly, how the emotion has now been taken out of things? Because a lot of the time we do get really emotional about it, and we're really kind of raw in terms of our reactions on fan cams and on shows on here. But the last couple of days have been very pleasant for me, mate. How has it been for you?
It's been very, very pleasant. I still can't get over that the story that I said, and I've been telling a few people again today, and they can't believe it, that happened, So very, very fortunate on that. And I just think I've been on a high, because of that. I'll be really honest, and I'm going to say this now. The internet, the winter break couldn't have come at a better time for us. For myself, on a personal level, got myself away and everything like that, as the players did. But what has pleased me more than anything is that they've not just gone away and had a jolly up. They've really worked on things, and I think that's the biggest plus and biggest credit I can give Mikel Arteta, that he's definitely gone away. They've looked at everything that's not been quite right, and they've tried to rectify it. I'm going to have to say it now. The last couple of games also, the way we've played is back to how we was playing last year. Not maybe the first 10, 15, 20 minutes of the game against West Ham, but hold this thought when I say that. In the game against West Ham last season, we went guns blazing in the first 10, 15 minutes, and then it probably weren't great after that. What we've done is we reversed that role this time. We got control of the game and then went for the throat. So I love that. The Liverpool game was just a sensational game. And I'm not doing myself a favour here. I'll tell you who it was, right? I was speaking to Fergus on Guns and Yellow River. If you you've never seen their podcast, go over and have a look at it. And he come up with a fantastic point, He turned around and said last season, now probably our downfall was Liverpool and West Ham. And also, if you look at it, the two games before you can go on to the Fulham game as well, but the two games before or just in that Christmas period when we lost, West Ham at home and Liverpool at home. And what we've done is we've rectified both of those performances. You know what I mean? Like we lost to Liverpool at home. We probably should have won the game by missing chances, but we rectified it by smashing Liverpool. And was it 43 chances? We had 43 shots we had against West Ham in the first game, rectified it in this game as well, So learning from your mistakes. Could we be doing that? I don't know, but
on that point, Lee, it's actually third time lucky, because Fergus is right to mention last season that we had Liverpool and West Ham similarly. But we had Liverpool and West Ham similarly before the break to Dubai. So we basically had Liverpool and West Ham. Not Liverpool, Man City, sorry. Liverpool and West Ham last season. Yeah, we've derailed our titles. Yeah. Then we had Liverpool and West Ham before Dubai. Now we've had Liverpool and West Ham after Dubai. So you're absolutely bang on. It's a really good point from Fergus.
Yeah, it's a great point. I thought, I would have liked to have took it myself, but you know what I mean, like Fergus sort of no, it was a great point he made, and it made me think about it on the way home. Because I was driving when I was talking to him, and then just driving home and coming back thinking about the show today. I actually thought, it was a valid point. So all roads at this moment, Mikel's doing very, very well. But listen, it's no good winning these two games and everybody buzzing and all that. I know you might say it's an old cliche, but then you go and you got to go to Burnley and you've got to go and you've got to go and smash them and all down. You really have, listen, I'll take a 1-0 win and for the next how many ever games it is, but you know what I'm saying. You need to now just go, right, bash, let's go and smash them. Let's go and smash them 3 or 4-0 on Saturday. And then all of a sudden people will go, oh, hold on a minute, they're looking good. One game at a time, Dan. That's all we've got to do at the moment. And I think that's what the way the players, and we've all got to do it. But we know that what we've got to do is we've got to get ourselves to the Etihad in top and not be looking at that game. You know what I mean? I think maybe last season we looked at that game and maybe they made mistakes there because we dropped points going into that game. What we've got to do now is just concentrate on one game at a time. Just keep banging away, getting the results.
Absolutely. Listen, big up to everybody in the chat. There's well over 230 of you. Let's make sure you smash the like button for us and put your questions into the chat. Big up to Elliot as well. We all know Elliot from AFTV. Big up, Elliot. Absolute legend. Loves the show, loves the channel. When he comes over from America, always jumps on the fan cams. Big up to yourself, sir. Let's go through some questions, judges. Okay, this one is from Reese Manning, and I think it's a quality one. Gabriel, arguably better than Saliba last season. Arguably, he's been better this season so far. Is he the better player? I did a TikTok and I did a show on this not too long ago about Gabriel. I think he's one of the most underappreciated and overlooked centre-halves in the Premier League, let alone Arsenal. And I think that with Saliba, totally understandably why he's justifiably been given the credit and the plaudits. But I'm going to say it now. Last 2 seasons, Gabriel has been a better defender. I honestly believe that. I think he's fit every single game. He's durable. He's played 147 games now for Mikel Arteta, which apparently, along with Saka, is one of the highest since arriving at the club. He is a phenomenal centre-half, and I don't think gets enough credit. He's up there at set pieces. He's scoring from headers, the most goals from a centre-half in the league. I think he deserves his flowers, man.
100%. Is he better than Saliba? I'll tell you what he isn't better than Saliba at, and this is no fault of his own, is he's not better on the eye, because what he is, he is the aggressive defender. He's the one that goes in there and makes the tackles. He's always on the front foot defending, gets stuck in and everything like that. Saliba's one that mops up a little bit, if I'll be honest, I think physically he's got he's more powerful than Saliba. Do you remember those sort of games that you had back in the day. I don't know if you remember this. You might be a bit too young for this. When you used to have these card games, and it used to be like it could be aeroplanes, footballers, and whatever. Like, and it would say like Wingspan 100 or
Oh
Power.
yeah.
Do you remember those? Do you remember those sort of games? But there was always
like top trumps, basically. Like
something like that.
Yeah.
Trumps. I think it was called Trumps. If
it is. Yeah.
If I remember, and there was always like the biggest card on the thing, weren't there? Like, you know, it was but there was always one thing that could do it. One thing that could do it. It might be like pace, or it might be this, or whatever. Like, you know, and the one thing that Gabriel has got over Saliba is that he's better in the air than him. So if you went on to aerial ability, Gabriel would win that one. Like pace, I think would be about the same. Like physicality, I think Gabriel would win that. Better on the eye, better passer of the ball, better comfortable on the ball. Saliba wins it all day long. He's not the most comfortablest. The other thing that he has got, which people, I don't know if it's a big thing, but it seems to be a more massive thing as we go into football nowadays, is he's left-footed. You know what I mean? But you know, I think Saliba's probably comfortable on both feet, but you know, Gabriel left-footed. But at the end of the day, I'm with you. I think he's an absolute beast in there, like, you know. And listen, if Saliba would have played last season, right, and Gabriel would have been injured, I think everybody would have said, we lost the league because Gabriel got injured. The only reason we're saying is because it was Saliba out. But I honestly think that if Saliba would have stayed on fit that season, Gabriel, what we need is them both staying fit to the end of the season, Dan. If they do, I think we've got a very, very good chance of pushing for it. But like, so I think that's key, yeah.
Absolutely. I'll take the next one. This is from Shay Tanya. Says, big up Dan and Lee. What's your concern for the remaining games of the season? I'm still concerned with our finishing of our chances. Our defence is solid, but if we don't score early, it puts a lot of stress. The only reason that's been a worry is because that has been a concern for most of this season. However, I will say this. We've scored 16 goals in the last 4 games. We have literally averaged that 4-goal mark by putting 6 past West Ham, 5 past Palace. We got 2 past Forest, and we got, what's the other game? 3 past Liverpool. But you're right, Chaitanya. We did actually miss some chances in all those games as well. So I totally agree where you're coming from. I do think we are solid defensively. It's one of the best in the league. But I do agree that we need to finish our chances. Now, one thing I will say, I wouldn't change it too much with some of these players coming back. Now, eventually, you want your best 11 to come in, right? But when you've got a little bit of momentum, i.e. Trossard, when Jesus is back, don't start him. Bring him on. Let Trossard continue up front. He's been brilliant there, right? We didn't do this against Fulham last year. He was brilliant. Didn't see him for April or May, Trossard. We played Jesus, and for some reason, we couldn't be as clinical in front of goal. I don't know why, but we couldn't be, right? The opposite thing of this season as well is we're going into the back end of this season where defensively we're fairly solid, whereas last season we weren't because we had injuries to Tomiyasu and Saliba. Now, touch wood, that doesn't happen again, right? But that is one of the biggest concerns people have had, is finishing our dinner. But things can change in football very quickly, Chaitanya. I'll let you take this one, Lee. This is a really good question, actually. This one comes in from Scene Sunderland PSV. Where do you guys rank Saliba and Gabriel as a partnership in the league in Europe? For me, as a neutral, watching Arsenal, I think they're the best in partnership in Europe currently. Big up. Well, listen, thanks for the compliment. I guess you're a PSV fan. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. And I have to say, I personally agree. Where are you at, Lee?
Do you know what? I can't really answer that question because I don't really watch too many other teams in Europe, if I'll be honest. But I've not seen a better partnership in all the times that I've been in the Premier League this season and in Europe, what games that I have seen and what games I've been to. I think that they're unbelievable. And I look at Manchester City's and listen, I'm going to say it now. I don't care. You can talk about Tottenham's 2 central defenders. I think are decent. Manchester City's obviously. Liverpool's are the 2 that have impressed me the most, particularly at Anfield. I thought that they were fantastic when we played them up there. Snuffed us out completely, but didn't look so great at the Emirates. But I wouldn't swap my 2 central defenders for anybody.
Love that, man. Absolutely love that. Let's get through these fairly quickly. This one comes in from my bro Ronnie. Hope you're well, my friend. Says, seeing as this seems to be a 3-horse race, I don't see the 90-point mark hit, especially if the top 4 or 5 take points from one another. I see the league being won on 83, 84 points max. Your thoughts? This is a great question for me because if we win all of our games, we will finish on 94 points. I do not see that happening. I do not see Man City or Liverpool winning all of their games. Of course, we've got to play each other, so that can't physically possibly be possible. However, I don't know is the answer. But if you was to give me 85 or 86 points now, I'd probably take it and feel that we would have an unbelievable chance of winning the league or at least being in it till the last game of the season. But you just don't know with Man City. They are pretty much flawless from now until the end of the season, usually. Are they going to be? I think they could drop some points. I think they might lose at Anfield or draw at Anfield. I think we could go there and take something off of them. That's a couple of games. And there's always that Wolves result that they've had this season that you just think, how the hell have Wolves done that? And I think that might happen. But I honestly don't think it will be more than that. I think Man City will be near on perfect towards the end of this season. So they could hit towards the 90 points mark. Let's get through these quite quickly because we've got so many people throwing questions in, Lee. So let's be brief with our answers. This one comes in from Vertic. I'm going to be home watching Madrid tonight. I really think we could take them. Do you guys think we can win this Champions League, Lee?
Yes, I do think. Do you know what? I'm going to still say it now. I think we've got a better chance of winning the Champions League than the league because you're going to play Manchester City over 2 games, not 38. And anything can happen in cup competitions. Got to have a lot of luck. But I do think there's always a chance that you can win that. Like, do I think that we're win them? No, but you know, you've because there's better teams than us. There's better teams than us in it. But can we win it? Yeah, certainly can. Because if that was the case, Man City would win everything every year. They won everything last year, but you know, don't always necessarily work that way in the cup competitions.
Absolutely, man. Right, let's go to this next one. Do you know what? I'm going to stick with you here because everyone knows what I'm going to say. So this one comes in from 433. Says Havertz keeps attracting some really poor ratings. I really see some encouraging signs from him, and I expect him to keep growing. Do you agree?
Well, I'm going to tell you this now. I watched the game back yesterday, and I urge any Havertz haters, Turkish damn pots, I can put them into it as well. Like, you know, go back and have a look at that game. He was involved in a lot of the goals the bit just before the goals. Now you go, well, what do you mean by that? Well, he was Kivior is the one that puts the cross in, which goes for the corner in the first one. He's the one that gets the ball to Kivior I think it's the second one. I don't think he's involved in the second one. The third one, it's a lovely little chest down and a little 1-2 to Odegaard. Then Odegaard makes the pass to Trossard. Look, listen, go and get me wrong. There's brilliant finishes and all that, but he was very, very. I wouldn't say important, but he influenced a few of those goals out there. But you don't see that because you see the last bits of and all that. Like, you know, had a very, very better game. To be honest, I'm going to be really honest. I said, didn't I? I think in ratings he was a 7 out of 10. That looking back on it, he was better than what I thought he was. So I urge other people to do the same.
Just on that, because I do want to get through these questions, I actually praised him and said that I thought he had an okay game. And I got back home and everyone else was saying, well, he was the only one that was crap. And I thought, that's harsh. Personally, that is harsh. This one's a very quick one for me. Potts, what are you drinking? A lovely cup of tea. That's what I'm drinking. But it's gone now, so I need a drink again. So I'm going to have to go down and get another one in a minute. This one comes in from Steve. Says, Lee and Dan, we're reported to have all our injured players coming back by March. Taking into account how well we played out, are you confident Arteta will manage the team selection okay? I'm really looking forward to seeing a fully fit squad, but I will say that by the time the players all come back, there will be more injuries in the side. I just know there will be because we know with his Arsenal side that when someone comes back, you normally lose one. So by the time we get Thomas Partey back, Tommy Yasu back, Timber back, we'll probably have injuries to Trossard, Martinelli and Jesus. Something like that. That's sometimes what happens with this Arsenal side, unfortunately, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree that we got right that it don't happen. But also you've got to understand that these players coming back might not be as good. Look, Jesus is still good, but he's nowhere near at the standards he was last season. Why? Because his nursing keeps coming back from injury. I say it and I say it again. If Timber comes back and it's the form that he's done, I don't know. I'll run around my house naked while we're filming it or something like because I don't think that he will be like, you know. I just think, you know, he might come back and do okay, but for me, I'm writing him off this season, Dan. I really am because I think it'd be incredible.
When people been out for that long, mate, it's hard, isn't it, to expect.
Yeah, to come back in and not have any sort of game, like say if you come back from injury at the beginning of the season, there's always a League Cup tie. There's always saying you're going to be throwing him in high intensity games all around it, unless and let's hope that it does that and we get a fantastic result in the Champions League where we're 3 or 4 up and we can play. Otherwise, I can't see it, Dan. I can't see it. So
no, you're right, mate.
That's how I feel about that.
No, you're absolutely right. This next one comes in from Nando the Gunner. Big up yourself, my bro. Says, Dan, if you think of it, playing Zinchenko left back is the same as playing Partey right back. When I say this, people agree and think we should buy a left back and play Zinchenko as a number 6 next year. What's yours and Lee's thoughts? I disagree with this because I do believe that you should go and buy the players that actually are a defensive midfielder or a left back. Now, I've got nothing wrong with people who want to have a versatile approach or play in a few positions. But personally, I wouldn't mind seeing Zinchenko go into the Granit Xhaka role for a couple of games, but I wouldn't want to see him starting there in every single game. That's just my opinion. I think in our starting 11, Zinchenko doesn't actually make it now when everyone's fit. And that's just the way that it should be. It's ruthless. For me, Timber plays left back and Zinchenko holds the bench and comes on and gives us a little bit of something different if we need to be more offensive or need a substitution. That's brutally how I see it, Lee. I might be harsh on Zinchenko.
No, horses for courses. I think when you're playing Man City away, I expect to see Tomiyasu play there in that game. If fit, everybody's fit and available. I expect to see Tomiyasu there. When we're playing Brentford at home, I expect to see Zinchenko there because we're going to have more of the ball and need that extra players in midfield and whatever, So horses for courses. I don't think Zinchenko has done enough at this moment to warrant to say, yeah, you deserve to play week in, week out. Part of that is because he's never available all the time. I think this is the 5th time now he's got this calf injury. You know what I mean? Perhaps he should put a car in his leg. He can have a car.
Love that, man. Listen, you can take this next one. Brian says, I read that Arsenal was coming back to the States again this year. Will you boys be coming over for pre-season? I met Lee in Orlando in 2022 and it was awesome.
Oh, well, I do believe the tour is in America, you know what I mean? And the way things are going, you never know, Dan, do you? You never know. We could be both out there this time. That'd be nice.
That would be lovely, man. It really would be. Hopefully we'll see you guys out there. Again, from Nando says, would you try to go for Bruno or Isak from Newcastle? If they don't make the Champions League, I'll take both of them. But they're never going to come to Arsenal because Newcastle are not going to sell them to us. Bruno Guimaraes has a release clause of about 100 million, which means it'll probably be Real Madrid or Barcelona that they come in for. Who knows? It might even be Man City. But I don't think that they would actually sell. Newcastle would sell to a Man City, Chelsea or Arsenal. It would have to be that release clause activated. As for Aleksandar Isak, his injury problems worry me. However, he is the one that I would go for ahead of Tony and Osimhen because he is absolutely unreal. He is such a good centre forward. After Haaland, the best in the league for me, Aleksandar Isak. When he's fit, he looks the closest to Thierry Henry's attributes that I've seen in a long time. Nowhere near as good, and I'm sure he won't be when he gets to that level, but my God, he looks pretty frightening. So, yeah, I'd take both of them, to be fair, and they're 2 positions that I think that we need. Lee, you have this one. It took Arsenal to get Arsene to win the title. It took Klopp and the Kop end to win the title after 30 years. It's now 20 years since we've won it, which was at Old Trafford. Could we win it at Old Trafford again? Yeah, I heard this question last night. Arsenal can win the league at Old Trafford again. It's the penultimate game, Lee. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I think it was very similar to the one last time when we won at Old Trafford. It's on the cards that it could be. Listen, if we was to win it at Old Trafford, that'd be fantastic. But at the moment we could lose it at Old Trafford. So I'll rather keep my powder dry on that one. But I did see that, well, listen, if we could actually win it there, and then you can sing that song, we won the league at Anfield, we won it at the Lane twice, we won it at Old Trafford twice. That'd be fantastic. So, listen, I think I'll be happy to win it at the last game of the season. In fact, if it comes down to the Emirates against Everton, is it Everton? I think it is Everton.
Yeah, it is Everton at home. Yeah,
and we won it in '98. At Everton, after a very, very long while, you know what I mean? Obviously, was it 91 was the last time before that? So not so long to wait, but we've waited. This 20 years has gone bloody quick when you think about it. Jesus Christ! So
I left school, mate. I was 16 years old. I left school and we went unbeaten. I couldn't believe it. Brilliant.
And
brilliant
after that, Dan, if you'd have said to me, like the Liverpool fans, if someone would have come up to you, a Spurs fan, and turned around and said, "Yeah, you won't win it for 20, 21 years or whatever." I go, "I'll do yourself a favour, like, you know what I mean?" But
Would have been straight jackets, mate. We ain't lost the game, and they're saying it'll be 20 years after that. So you would have been straight jackets.
And here we are. So that's how difficult it is to win football. And listen, but in those days there, you know, and I'll tell you another thing. If you're sitting in the pub that day and I said, someone come up to you and said, "You ain't going to win the league in 20 years, you know that, like." And I'll tell you who is going to win it: Leicester, Manchester City are going to dominate, and Chelsea. You'd have laughed at them, right? You know what I mean? Maybe not
Absolutely,
Chelsea, because Chelsea were just getting their money, but you would have laughed at them, like, you know. So there you go.
Yeah, you would have. One thing you wouldn't have laughed at, though, is you would have said Tottenham still wouldn't have won anything. That would have been quite obvious to say, but there we go.
Yeah, there you
To
go.
be fair, actually, they did win a tin pot, didn't they? But fair play. Okay, what's this next one? This is a super chat, so I'm going to bring these two super chats in next. They go to the front of the queue. Simon Paul says, at the start of the season, if after 24 games, you knew that Partey missed 15, Timber 23, Jesus 7, how many points off City would you have thought we'd be? Well, at the moment, we're obviously with a game in hand, they can go 3 points ahead of us. Do you think that would you have taken that, Lee, if you would have known?
It's a great question. It's a great question because, you know, I look at Spurs fans, and if you say, "Oh, well, we've took out so and so, they've took out Madison, they took out Van der Vaart, been out whoever else they had injured at the time." They had 3 or 4 players out, and it was like, "Oh, look how many injuries we've got," and all that. Like, you're taking out Thomas Partey, Jesus, our best two of our best players last season. Partey's been out for most of the season. Timber was our signing. So that's like saying to Tottenham, like, you know, Van der Vaart not playing at all this season. You sign him and not sign it and have him, like. And other players have been out as well. I think it's incredible when you think of it from that point of view. But, you know what I mean? One of the reasons why is because we spent £105 million on a certain player. That's why we've not missed Thomas Partey and things like that. So you imagine if we hadn't bought... Listen, I'll answer it this way. If we hadn't bought Declan Rice, we'd be having a battle with Chelsea at this moment in time.
Wow. Crazy, isn't it? Crazy. To think of that. Listen, guys, if you do want to put questions in, this is really cheeky, but due to the amount that I've got, I will only be putting super chats at the front of the queue now, so you will miss out on some of your questions now, just due to time. So I've got so many, and I want to try and get through as many as I can, but I need to cut it off at some point. So if you do add a super chat, it will go to the front of the queue. And I will get through the remaining questions that I have starred. Supremela Lama says, loving the content, keep it up. Well, listen, thank you so much, man. And thank you so much for the super chat. That really does mean a lot. So thank you. This next one comes in from Lee Hall. This is a good question, Lee. Says, Spurs fan here. Enjoy your content and keep up the good work. You're a good listen. Quick question. Do you think that Spurs under Ange will make as much progress as Arsenal have done under Arteta? Lee?
Good question. I hope not, is the answer to that. But listen, I've been impressed with what they've done this season down Spurs. You know what I mean? Like, it was a total, I wouldn't say a shambles at Spurs last season, because that's the wrong thing to say. They had good players there. If you have a look at the players that they did have, they had some bloody good players there. It was just not being run properly as far as the manager was concerned. What they've done, Tottenham, which is the best thing they ever done, is that they got a manager in that wasn't Spurs grateful to have them as a manager. What they've got now is a manager that's grateful and happy and blessed that he's at a big club like Spurs, and that's the difference, and that's the reason what they've got that now. So he's going to do everything he can to keep his job, because he's never going to get, in my eyes, he might do a better job than Tottenham, and I think he probably realises that. You know what I mean? Like, he's worked his way up, and now, you know, to get a big club like Tottenham, and they are a big club. Let's get this right. And if he gets it right, he's the best thing since sliced bread, because without being disrespectful and taking the mickey out of them, he ain't got a lot to go on, have they really? Like, do you know what I mean? They've not won a league since 1961. The last time they won the FA Cup was in 1991. What they've done is, you have a look at Pochettino. He's done a fantastic job, nearly got them over the line. And if Pochettino had a little bit more luck and time on his sideline, I mean that by going to Wembley when they could have still been at White Hart Lane. Who knows what could have happened? There was a very, very good side that last season at White Hart Lane. Probably the best Tottenham team that I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, 100%.
So, you know, like, and what happened there with Tottenham is they got to the heights that they could. It could never get beyond that, like, you know, because when you think about it, it's an unbelievable achievement to try, you know, to win a league and a Champions League, you know, and they've come very, very close in doing both. So it's what they've got now is a base to go on and do well, but the big question for Tottenham is: are they prepared to spend 105, 110 million pound to get themselves over the line? Now, Arsenal are prepared to do that, reluctantly to a certain degree, but they've done it. Will Tottenham go and do that? When I look at Tottenham the other day, I actually watched their game against Brighton for the first time, watched bits of it. I was watching the Liverpool game, but when the Liverpool game was over, I started watching the Spurs game. They're a good footballing side, but I think that you can get at their midfield, and their striking situation is not at the level it needs to be to go on and win titles and challenge in the top of Europe. So they will have to invest. If they invest, then they'll definitely be up there, Dan, because the two things that they have got going from Tottenham as well, and I think that, you know, is one, that where they're based in London, and they've got a massive stadium and a fantastic training complex.
Their facilities,
their facilities. So they've got everything going in the right direction. It's whether they've got prepared to go over and maybe overspend a little bit on certain players. Now, if they don't choose to do that, that means they're not. It doesn't mean to say that the club's wrong. I'm just saying, like, that's how I see it.
Listen, fair play to you, man. This one comes in from Mark. We got Mark. We love Mark. Says, Dan and Lee, do you think we'll suffer another cluster of poor games this season, or do you think we can bounce back better from a single defeat? Now, the clusters worry me, Lee. The clusters have always worried me, you know, because it ain't just one, is it? We always have two or three, and then we go back on this run, and then have another 2 and 3. And we have done it every year. If you remember, we had the FA Cup win, and then the season that we had that awful, when I was done, we lost to Burnley at home, Leicester at home, Wolves at home, Villa at home, and Grealish pumped us. And then after that, it was like, he's going to get sacked. And then he brought Smith-Rowe in against Chelsea, and we went on that nice little run. Season after that, we had a nice little, we're going to get top 4. We're going to get top 4. Then he lost to Palace, Brighton, and Southampton. We bottled it, remember? And I thought, no way, we got Man United, Chelsea, and West Ham next. 1 all 3. Then we go for the title, and then we have that little cluster, well, 2 little clusters, to be fair, against West Ham, Liverpool, and Southampton, and at the end of the season against Brighton and Forest. And now we've seen it again this season, where we've had a little cluster against Villa and Newcastle, and then we had a little cluster just recently before Dubai, where we go out of the FA Cup against Liverpool, and then before that we lose to West Ham and Fulham. Surely we can't have another cluster now, mate, because if we do, we've lost the title, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly that. And that is the big worry. It's always in the back. I can't, Dan, I can't get out of my head the Fulham performance.
Mate, home and away. Home and away.
Yeah, home and away. I think that at the end of it, I think that, you know, realistically though, you should be getting 6 points against. If you're going to win titles, you've got to get 6 points. I think Spurs are. I had an argument with Julian about it, like, you know, and I said that they won't drop any points to any of the top 6 teams. And he said, like, I'll put your money where your mouth is. So we did, like, you know, they've got 1 game left. It's Tottenham at home, right? You know what I mean? Like, and I'll win me money. And I'll tell you what, Spurs will beat Fulham, like, because every team in the top 6 has beat them home and away, and we're the only team that's dropped points to them. And they was very fortunate, Liverpool, to get a result against them, but they got there in the end. So you look at it, we should have another 6 points. Forget about the West Ham game. I look at the West Ham game and I think to myself, sorry, not 6 points, another 5 points, sorry. Every team has a game against West Ham, one of those games, like, you know what I mean? But Fulham put those 5 points onto our score now, and we're in the same position as we were last season, Dan. Same position after 24 games.
Well, there we go.
That will be our downfall at the end. And I just think to myself that those Fulham games will be there. And I worry that, you know, that's why I think Burnley's so important that we go there and smash them, because I've still got that in the back of my head, that Fulham game. Need that bashing out of my head, like, you know what I mean? Go to Burnley, go and beat them 3 or 4-0. Go to Sheffield United, beat them 4 or 5-0. And then I'll be thinking, right, yeah, it's definitely on.
Fair play to you, man. This one comes in from Russell Wilson Brown. Says, big up, guys. I love the content. Do you think if we had Partey, we would have more points? That is a really hard question to answer. But I am going to say yes, because I do feel that our midfielders let us down sometimes this season. I really do. And I know that you do like Havertz, Lee, but I think if Partey and Rice were in that midfield instead of him, I do think we would have been better in transition. And I do think we'd have more points. Would we have beaten Fulham and picked up points at West Ham, Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge? Yeah, I think we might have, if I'm honest. I think we might have. I think we may be maybe 5 top 6 points better off with Partey. Not by loads. I don't think we'd be like 12 points more and be like winning the league. But I do think we'd have a few more points just because he's so important and he's got that steel and allows Declan Rice to do the business in there as well. We really are desperate to see Partey, Rice and
the biggest disappointment for me, Dan. The biggest disappointment is, if someone says to me, what's the biggest disappointment? And they go Fulham or whatever. Yeah, okay, yeah, that was disappointing. But the biggest disappointment for me this season will be that Partey's been injured for most of it.
And Timber.
Well, Timber, not so much Timber, because I don't know. I don't know what.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
What he can do and what he can't do. It probably will be like, you know what I mean? Like, in years to come, we might go, oh, look how good he is on that. I don't know. I've not seen enough of Timber. What I've seen of Timber was great. But what if I see a Partey last year, him and Rice in midfield, Partey pulling the strings from there, and a little bit like what Jorginho and Partey did against Liverpool, but it would have been a bit more steroids to it. Do you know what I mean? Nothing against Jorginho. If they were doing that week in, week out, that'd be my only regret.
Fair play to you, man. This next one I'll take from Jags. It says, big up, lads. 2 of my favourite content creators. Big up to you, man. It says, my question is, do you think that fatigue could play a part in not winning the league? Tommy Asu, Jesus, Smith-Rowe, Timber Vieira, all have been out for a significant amount of time. I don't think we can blame it on fatigue because we have not been in 4 competitions this season for very long. We went out the Carabao Cup early. We went out the FA Cup early. We haven't played Champions League for God knows how long. We could go to Dubai. We've got another couple of weeks off soon. This is not an excuse for me, fatigue. When players come back, we've got even more less of an excuse. But I understand what you're saying, Jags, in terms of the amount of injuries we've had. But that, for me, is just not an excuse. This next one comes in from Guna Legend. Lee, I'll let you take this one, which says, why do you think that Arsenal have come back on fire from Dubai? Is it an Arteta masterclass, or is it just a good old-fashioned rest?
I think it is a little bit of rest, and you know, look, one of the reasons probably we didn't win it last season was because we come back up from it weren't a break last time. It was didn't have a break last year. It was a World Cup, and if you think that, and then go into it again, and certain players broke down that were at that World Cup, like, you know, this time around we've had the break. As you turned right and quite rightly said, we're about to have another. I know we've got an international break coming up, but we're also maybe getting a week off before that with the Chelsea game and all that, like, you know. So I'm going to say then it's going to, whatever happens, it's going to come back on you at the end of the season. But I think that we've had a nice little break, freshened up, and I tell you what, they'll have another little week or break if Chelsea beat Leeds in whenever it is next week or whatever. And I think it's not a bad thing for us, like, you know. Do you remember, like, a couple of years ago we was only playing league games and we had breaks? I don't think that's too good, Dan, because you're missing too many. You can't get into a rhythm. We've got enough to get into a rhythm and keep going. And don't forget these last 2 weeks, Dan, which a lot of people don't forget, right? We've had we played Liverpool on the Sunday. We didn't play to the following Sunday, and we don't play now to the following Saturday. So we're having enough little bit of time to refresh in between, get some work done in between there, like, you know. Yeah. Obviously, then we've got Saturday. We then come back. We've got Wednesday, Saturday. Then we've got another little break. Then, like, you know what I mean. So it's not all. I don't think we're saying, oh, like, you know, we're playing Saturday, Tuesday. Oh, you know, like, you have a look in the Championship. That's what they're doing all the time. So no, I think that we should be fresh and listen. These players now, if they are going to come back. Again, you know, I mean, like Jesus didn't play this week. He's had a lovely 2 or 3 weeks rest now. Should come back fine. I think we ain't played since Forest, has he? So I think that no, I'm not going to buy into that one this season. Certainly not.
100%, man. Super chat. Big up to Simon. Simon says, you're 100% correct. The break came at the right time. We were cooked against Fulham. Saka hasn't been kicked much. Ben's running freely again. Yeah, sometimes warm weather training, a little bit of a break does help. I do think, though, that we did work on a lot over in Dubai. And I've mentioned this before about our set pieces and how our change of style has now looked a lot more free-flowing. So big up to Simon. I do agree with that. And also the guys from previously. Now, let's move on to this next one, which is from Mark. Big up. I'll take this one. It says, out of our returning players, Tomiyasu, Partey or Timber, who will make the biggest difference to our remaining games this season? I think it has to be Thomas Partey. Because for me, he is the best one out of those three, in my opinion, because we've seen what he does. And I think he is a guaranteed starter out of those three. And I'm not so sure at the moment than Tomiyasu and Timber are. So I think that he walks in, whereas I think the others have to maybe fight a little bit more with Ben White and Zinchenko to get in. And I think that Partey, Rice and Odegaard just has to be seen. If Partey stays fit to the end of the season, that will excite so many fans with Partey, Rice and Odegaard with the build-up for the remainder of the games. That will be absolutely key for me. So I will go with Thomas Partey. But Lee, I'll throw this one to you because this is quite an interesting one from Nando, who says, would you still sack Arteta if we win nothing this season?
Not for me. Not for me. Not this year. As I say, I always say this, it's if you're going to say, right, you're going to win something this year, you're up against a machine like Manchester City, Now, if Manchester City would have all their docs points and everything like that, and we don't win it, I think he would be under pressure. I think that what we've done is we've built a team up over the last 2 years, and I think that he's got to get something the following season. I do believe that, and I don't mean an FA Cup. I think the pressure really will be on next season, but I do think that he has to get a lot of credit for putting Arsenal with a young squad. If I'll be honest. Challenging for the title, which is no easy feat. There weren't long ago we was all cheering and going mad in top four and things like that. We've gone above that now.
Yeah.
Like within 2 years. And listen, I do feel that he deserves to be criticised. I'm not happy with the goalkeeping situation, but he's proving me wrong, Dan. You know what I mean? Raya's coming in.
He's been great the last few games.
He's been fantastic the last couple of games. So, listen, I think that, I get what people are saying. He's gonna be, but you're up against Manchester City. You're up against a manager that can spend £100 million on a player and don't play him for 8 weeks. You're up against a team that's got the best midfield player and best striker in Europe. Up against that, it's difficult to beat. Dan, I'm sorry, you know what I mean.
Well, let me do it. Let me do it this little bit differently. Let me do this. I think this is it's not a game. It's a good question. All right. I'll throw some scenarios at you, and you tell me what you would do. All right. We win the league and the Champions League, he's obviously going to stay. We win the league or the Champions League, he's going to stay. If we miss out on both of these, right? But we take Man City to the last game and we lose to Real Madrid on penalties in the Champions League final, you're not going to sack Mikel Arteta, are you? Right? No. So the next one down from that is that we go out to Porto and the league table says Liverpool win, Man City second and Arsenal third.
That's a different scenario, and that's under a little bit of pressure. I will say, which is not acceptable, is if any team above Man City,
other than City, win the league, right?
Yeah, I do, Dan. I don't. You know what I mean? Liverpool were, I don't know how many points worse off than us this season, and they've spent their money, and them to get there and bridge that gap would be a big disappointment for us. But the context of it is you've got to have a look at it. You know what I mean? We Manchester City might go on a run there and win every single game to the end of the season in the league, and then we just could go down the Champions League route, get to the semi-final and get beaten, and we've gone for that. There's all different things to look at it do you know what I mean? So I get when people turn around and say that, he's got to win something. And I understand that scenario. But for me, I'm going to be really honest, Dan. You know what I mean? When I started following Arsenal were never a team that was looking to win leagues and things like that. I never thought that was going to happen. So I'm not been brought up like you, where you were sort of bed-fed on titles, weren't you? Like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
So I
spoiled,
get
mate,
yeah,
spoiled.
spoiled. So I didn't want to say spoiled, but like, you know, you've
No,
got that's what you've been fed on, and you know, like you've been fed on steak. I've been fed on, you know what I mean, like
bit of
I
corned
don't
beef.
know, corned beef, yeah, like you know what I mean. At the end, it's a bit better than corned beef, like braised
Big
steak.
Mac.
I suppose,
Big Mac.
like,
Yeah, you
yeah,
like Big Mac.
I ain't doing too bad at Arsenal, but you know what I'm saying. Like George Graham come along, and George Graham, by the way, 87, 88. Let's go back to that 3 years. And I'm not saying that I know Arteta's been in it a bit longer, but let's go back to that scenario when I thought Arsenal were doing well. They won the League Cup. The following season lost to Luton, and then they won it, right? So I look at it and go like 2 years, you know what I mean? We've nearly won it last season. We might not win it this season, but in that third season, I'm expecting something like, you know. And I do think, and if I'll be really honest with you, with Arteta, has he really got the tools to win the title, Dan? Now, that might be out of his hand. I don't think he's been given the centre forward at this moment in time. Give him the centre forward, give him the tools what Pep's got, and see what he can do. Go and get in the best striker other than Haaland's, the next best thing. Go and get in the next best midfield player. I think that he's done that this season with Rice. I don't think we're too far off winning it, and then look at it and say what we've got, like, you know. And I do think that.
Well, listen, that is what's going to happen. By the way,
Yeah,
that is what's going to happen.
I don't think Jurgen Klopp's silly, right? I think Jurgen Klopp realises, right, that Mo Salah's going to get too old. How are you going to replace him? Get that? I honestly think that maybe he thinks that he can't. He sees that Arsenal and teams like that, young guns coming through. He thinks it might be a good time for him to bail out more than anything else. Like, you know, that's my personal opinion. Like, you know?
Maybe, man. Maybe. Let's get through the last few questions before we do come to a close. Big up to Ronnie. Says, people keep telling me we're third favourites for the Champions League. I feel the same. If we get past Porto, but there is something on Porto tie that's not sitting right with me. Thoughts? Now, I want to answer this one because I was asked this exact question today about Champions League by a good friend of ours. And if it was by form and won by form, I think Arsenal and City have both got a good chance of winning the Champions League. But the Champions League is never won by form, right? So what I mean by that is, Bayern Munich, do they look great at the moment to you? No, they don't look amazing. Harry Kane does, by the way, but the rest of the team don't look amazing. Old Tommy Tuchel's going to get the sack if this carries on. 5 points behind Xabi Alonso, who's just literally walked in at Leverkusen and is now smoking everyone. He's under pressure. So on form, you might go fancy Bayern Munich, actually. The reason Bayern Munich will still be a hard tie is because the heritage of this competition and the experience of Bayern Munich in this competition will allow them to be a hard opponent, even though, on top of that, they have got some good players. Likewise, Real Madrid. They're, at the moment, fighting with Girona to win the La Liga, right? But on form, you might think, other than Jude Bellingham and Vinicius, I fancy some of our players against them. But they will probably be the favourites to beat Arsenal for the pure fact that they have won it the more times than anybody else. Manchester City, likewise, they're going to be up against, and they're on fire anyway, right? So, yeah, I think we're the fourth favourites right now. And I don't know that this tie is going to be easy against Porto, to answer the question, Ronnie. I don't think it's going to be a breeze. I think they're going to be a good side, particularly away from home. But I do think that the Champions League, Lee, like you said previously, is easier to win than the Premier League because you don't need to be consistent for 38 games. We win 7 games in the Champions League. We won it. 7 games.
Totally
so
agree.
That's where I'm at, bruv.
Listen, I'll go back to the I had an argument with Dave, you know, who used to be, old Skeggy Dave.
Skeggy.
Obviously, he's a Real Madrid fan. Do you remember when they won when they won the Champions League the year before?
Yeah.
And I said, "There's no way they're going to win that. They was wanting to sack the manager because they was poor in the group stages and all that." And he turned around and said, "Trust me, Real Madrid will still be a tough team to beat because of their history of the Champions League." And I said, no. They went on to luckily beat, I think it was, I can't remember, Chelsea. Did they beat that year? They beat Manchester City.
Chelsea and Man City. And then they beat
Liverpool. Never have beaten Man City, but they did, you know what I mean? Like with the last couple of minutes go. And then they beat Liverpool in the final, deservedly so. And then you think to yourself, wow. But that wasn't the best team in it. Chelsea didn't even get into the Champions League via the league when they won it for the first time. Do you remember Spurs got into fourth?
2012.
Had to get knocked out because of Spurs.
Listen, Liverpool won in 2005 and they would come fifth in the league or whatever it was. Porto,
exactly.
They weren't the best team in the world when Mourinho won it with them. We were, you know what I mean? We were unbeaten that year.
Exactly that. And Arsenal and Tottenham got into the Champions League finals, right? Not being the best teams in their leagues.
Facts.
So there you go. So that tells you all you need to know. Like, you know, you
need it very well.
You need that little bit of luck.
Well.
But I do think you don't write off Bayern Munich because of what they've got in there.
Yeah.
Don't write off Real Madrid. Don't write off Barcelona, even though I think Barcelona are a poor side this season, if I'll be really honest. And obviously Manchester City. And also the heritage of teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Bayern Munich. They get those little difficult decisions go their way, like, you know what I mean, like, and so don't write them out, like, you know. But listen, they're all tough games. I didn't even know today until it came, you know, like Copenhagen ain't played a game for 2 months.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like, that's our luck. That's the luck you need in the draw. Like, if they don't need any more luck than they get, Man City, that's what they get. Out of all the teams they haven't played for 2 months because their league shut down. Like, you know.
Oh my God, that is incredible.
They get them in the last 16. Like, you know what I mean? It's their first competitive game for 2 months. You know what I mean? You need a bit of luck in football.
100%, 100%. I'll let you take this one, bruv, because, well, you'll know why. Amir says, guys, why do you think Ramsdale stayed rather than going out on loan to enhance his Euro chances?
Good question. I think, one, he's under contract. He's under a long contract. So Arsenal ain't going to sell. I don't think there's really the right fit out there at the moment. If I'll be really honest, I think Pope getting a long-term injury may have kept his decision there, because I think if Pope was playing regularly week in, week out, that he wouldn't. I think that, you know, you've got to accept he's probably going to accept. Listen, I think if he was playing for Arsenal and playing fantastically well week in, week out, I don't think Gareth Southgate will drop little arms. That's my opinion. So even though I think that maybe he should, and I think he's probably looked at it and probably thought that, you know, I might miss out on the Euros this season. I'm not going to be involved anyway. Stick what I am and see what better comes up next season. Listen, I love Aaron Ramsdale, and if I ever do a favourite Arsenal 11, he'd be my goalkeeper. I'm not saying he's the best, but I'm talking about favourites. He would be in it, but he won't be here next year. This time next season, he won't be here.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, I think he's probably played his last game for Arsenal already. Listen.
Yeah, he's played his last game for Arsenal.
Yeah, he has. Jordan Pickford is currently winning the Golden Glove in this Premier League. It is mad, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. Jordan Pickford, most clean sheets, Everton.
Well,
amazing.
How's Sean Dyche doing the business then? That's what I say.
He is, mate. He is. I think it's very close, but I think I've got that right. It was last week. I might have changed this game weekend, actually, but from what I saw last weekend, it was Jordan Pickford. Oliver, big up, says, Potts, what's the difference between the jersey you're wearing and the one on the wall? That one don't fit me anymore, Oliver. That is for sure. I don't know how old I was back then. That would have been, I probably would have been 8 or 9, I suppose. Maybe it was about that age anyway. This one is the adult version with Ian Wright on the back. So there we go. So that is why. This next one comes in from Elliot. Big up, Elliot. Says, at the moment, who would you choose as our number 9 this summer, Lee? Tony, Osimhen, Rafael Leao, or a dark horse?
Very, very tough. I think a dark horse player that we don't expect will come in. But listen, Ivan Toney's impressed me since he's come back. He's the sort of player in there because he doesn't do all his work in the box. He does a lot of it outside, but he gets in there. But do you know what? Whoever they choose, I'm going to back. I've got real like, you know, I was a big fan of the guy that went to Juventus. Can't think of his name now. Vlahovic, very, very big. He hasn't quite hit the heights at Juventus. So it's a very, very difficult one, like, you know what I mean? So Then Pepe, like I think just someone mentioned in there, like, you know what I mean, would probably be the one. Like I've heard rumours that he wants to come to the Arsenal.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So
That's
I
the one
want
we need to go and get. I mean, if we got any chance at all, any ambition
if
at
there's
all.
any
You said
chance
earlier,
we can sign him.
you said earlier, go and get a player that's behind Ireland. Well, he's probably
No,
in
that's
front of
it.
him.
That's
There
it.
you go. Maybe he would. You know, I mean, he wants Real Madrid, I think, but you never know. You never know. Listen, I think we'll get Ivan Toney. I think it will be Ivan Toney in the
Yeah,
summer.
I think it'd be Tony. Listen, I'm not going to be disappointed if it is
No,
Dan.
same here. I think he's quality. I've been so impressed, really impressed with him. And he's come on a podcast, says he loves the Arsenal, so that means I love him. So there we go. Listen, this last question we're going to do for the night is going to be this one from Vivan. Says, our running looks harder than Liverpool and City's as they have to play each other. Which would be their hardest game? We still got to go to Spurs, United, and to City all the way. I understand what they're saying. We have got hard fixtures. I don't think anyone's got easy fixtures left, but I will say that. Man City got to go to Anfield. Man City got to go to Spurs. And Liverpool have got to go to Old Trafford. And Liverpool have got someone else, but they've also got to host, obviously, Man City as well. I don't really look at it like that, Lee. And I know maybe I should. Maybe it's me being foolish. Maybe it's me looking at who's got who to play left. I look at our job and look at where I see us picking up points. Now, along the way, I expect Man City and Liverpool to drop some points, but it ain't going to be many, right? We need to be in a position, and I think it might have been you, or was it Turkish who said this? I've done so many bloody podcasts lately, I can't keep up. It might have been yourself on here, said, when they do play each other, Liverpool City, we need to be able to look at it and go, we are in the hunt. We can sit with some popcorn and enjoy it. What I don't want is to be 6 points behind them both.
No, exactly.
And then they play each other and we're screwed.
I said that, and I said, like, you know,
It was you. I thought it was you. I didn't know it was your Turkish.
Come that game, I want to be. I want to. I tell you what that game is. If I'm really, it's a weekend that them two are playing, and Spurs have got a difficult game as well. Who have they got? I think we got a home tie against Brentford. I think. Let me answer another question, Dan. I'm going to just put that weekend up there because I see it today, and I thought, right, that's the weekend.
In terms of who we've got.
No, it's a Sunday that these games go ahead, right? Let me just go and have a look.
Yeah, no worries, man. Because I was looking at that fixture, and that one to me is the one that
right.
we
No, that's it. Like we have Brentford at home, right? 5:30 kickoff, right? Okay. Well, we need to win that game, right? But also winning the games before that, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right. And then on the Sunday, the 10th of March, it's Aston Villa versus Spurs, right? And then at 3:45, Liverpool versus Man City. I want to be on the max. So what needs to happen for us is to go to Burnley, win, go beat Newcastle, win, beat Sheffield United, win, beat Brentford and win, like, yeah. And then when the Sunday, the 10th of March comes along, right, we can sit there and say at 1 o'clock till whatever time that finishes, this is a day of enjoyable football for us. Because they're all games that whatever happens will suit us. We can relax. Whatever happens will suit us. If Aston Villa beat Spurs, fantastic. If them two draw, fantastic. If Tottenham beat them, not so fantastic. But at the end of the day, eliminates Villa out of it. Whatever happens in the Liverpool Man City game, what will be, will be. But what we can do is not sit there, put our feet up, and then at the end of that game, them two teams drawing, and we're sitting there throwing our popcorn about or throwing our sandwiches on the floor or whatever, because we drop points here and we drop points there. That Sunday should be a super Sunday for Arsenal fans. That's what I'm saying.
Mate, that's a great way to finish it. Absolutely love it. Listen, massive thank you to everyone for all those questions. Were they phenomenal? They were absolutely brilliant questions, man. Really well done to the chat. Love the fact that you're all here to join us live. Thank you so much for the super chats as well. We'll try to get through as many as I could. So I hope I didn't miss you out. And if you did, join us next time because you will definitely get your question answered. Judges.
I've just got to say that I've just been formally informed by Adam. Thank you very much, Adam. It's Mother's Day that day.
Oh.
All right. So maybe even better for us Arsenal fans is that we don't care what happens in those games. Go out and have a nice time with your mum, a nice meal and enjoy it. Come back and watch Match of the Day later on.
Nice roast dinner and then get back with the football.
That's it.
Absolutely.
But whatever happens, let's have a nice Mother's Day. The only way we have a nice Mother's Day, my mum will have a nice Mother's Day if Arsenal have got maximum points going into that game. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so will my mum as well, 100%. Listen, absolute legends. Thank you all so much. Please do me a favour. There's 500 of you still watching. Please smash a like. We've only hit 162 likes. Please like the video. That would be amazing. If we can get up to 250 likes, that would be brilliant. Please subscribe to the channel. We are getting close to 40k, which is our next target. So please make sure you do that. And if you can come and support myself over at Football's 12th Man podcast, we are towards 16k and we are literally only about 30 away from 16k. So if you can come and support, that would be amazing too. Lee, always a pleasure, my bro. We'll be back probably with more content tomorrow, Thursday. And yeah, up the Arsenal. Take it easy, people.
Come on, you Gunners.